Welcome back to the channel. Now in this video we're going to have a look at some brand new 3D printed resin tracks from Infini model, and these tracks have been gifted to the channel by Premium Hobbies, so shout out to Premium Hobbies. There's a link below in the description box where you can go and pick these up, and they were sent over by Ed from Premium Hobbies, so thanks a lot for a trial basically. I've been looking at them and they've got a unique aspect to them, and I was and ahhing, did I want to grab them? And then I thought, well, I'll reach out, and Ed was kind enough to send these over. I was also doing a MRP order, and he was good enough to chuck that in as well. I did ask to pay for that, but I never saw an invoice, so I'm guessing they're a freebie as well. So we'll see them later on in the channel in a couple of projects that are coming down the line. So as I'm sure you all know, I always use MRP paints where I can. I'm very much happy with them, and I do always buy them from Premium Hobbies anyway, so there you are. I'm happy to support companies that I actually use, so check them out. Really good service all round. So before we get the tracks going, we need a set of running gear to put them on. Now this kit, this is the Daswork Jagdpanther G2, $24.99 roughly. This is one of those kits, it's straight out of the box. It's one of those sort of new version of I don't know if it is a Blitz. It is a Super Blitz. So the Panther G came out, and then they followed that with a Jagdpanther. Great kit. Comes with link and length tracks, which aren't actually that accurate, a bit simplified. Other than that, I think the kit is actually reasonable, to be honest. Important bit here, I'm just showing you where you've got to glue in these sections for the sprocket to, it's like a guard around the front of the sprocket. To actually get them lined up, I was surprised at how loose the fit was. So I used the hole, the upper hole, join it in to make sure they fit in place, or sorry, set in place. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just sort of wiggling them in between the front fender there, and then they set up nicely. So I was a bit surprised at how loose the fitting was. You could easily get them out of sync, and it's a very tight fit, but when you get it right and you flick it in between the fender and the join, there you are, you're good. And that locks it in then, so with no glue in between that join, it's fine just to clip that in and then leave that to set up overnight, and you know you're in the right place then. So yeah, this is the Super Blitz kits. Now, I wanted to do a lot. I've got the Panther and I've got the Jagdpanther. I was actually never going to get either of them because I didn't really fancy the kits. That was mainly based on what I was seeing is people buying this £25 kit saying how fantastic it is, and then putting 50 quid's worth of aftermarket on it, which to me completely defeated the object of the price to it. So I thought, well, I don't know where this fits. I do think it is a good starting place, these kits. I think these are probably, well, they've replaced the Tamiya kits. They're as good as the Tamiya, well, they're better than the Tamiya kits. So this is a good starting place. Not quite as easy to build, but better detailed, and you get more in the box. So it's worth, probably a great place to start. I don't think it's a kit you want to start with and chuck 50 quid's worth of aftermarket on it. I think there's just better kits out there for that. So I've glued those wheels wrong, by the way. Those loops are meant to be the same side, not as a circle. It probably wouldn't matter long term, but I did pull them apart and reset them. So just showing you, it's not meant to be like a circle. They're meant to be just one side as a semicircle. Rushing on with the camera on. Now, the running gear is on. So we've got the wheels on. We've got something that we can have set up to put these tracks on. So let's have a look at these tracks. That's what these are about. The one key feature to these 3D printed tracks that I haven't seen anywhere else is they're already joined together. They've already got pins in them and they're already workable. Now, because these have been sent, I thought, right, let's do it as we are. I was a bit worried. You're going to just peel them off. I didn't know if I'd want to do that with a 30 quid set of tracks, but here we go. We're going to jump straight in and do exactly what they said. So that's how they're set up on the 3D printed sheet. This is 3D printed resin. It's quite flexible, very flexible in fact. And here we go. Make sure they're flat. Peel from the bottom. As soon as you've got one broken off, peel away. Nice and flat pulling. Don't pull up, don't pull down, just pull horizontally. And a little bit cautious at the start. I do get with it in the end. I'm just checking because I thought it was going to make a massive mark on the pins on the end. It doesn't. So it's all very, very well designed supports here to break off in the right area. And they do. And there you go. You just pull them. Plenty of strength to the pins. It's obviously molded in resin pins. So 3D printed tracks with the pins in, printed, and they just work. So what this is going to do is save you, I don't know, what, 2-3 hours of putting them together? Because they do work. I can tell you that now. They are actually, impressive. I don't like 3D printed tracks. I've used them here and there, and I do not get on with them at all. I'd much rather have metal tracks, but these are a bit of a game changer, I've got to be honest. Once you've pulled both sides off like that, we do now need to go in and just clear out some supports that are in between. I did try snapping them off, but it's so flexible that they don't snap off very easily. So you need to use a tool to cut them away. So I'm just making sure I'm in the right place for the tracks, as you can see. Now, in between these two sets of tracks, there's some spare links, and there are also some pins as well, which I didn't notice, and I chucked them in the bin. So I had to go back through the bin to find them all. So I'm just going through now with my cutters, and I'm just cutting out these supports that are kind of in between, so it doesn't allow you to pull it off. I thought they'd just snap out. Usually, if you use the kind of brittle resins, these would snap, but obviously this is a very flexible resin used here, and they're not snapping. So it's time to cut them, and in the end, I actually found the best way to go along it is just use the back of some tweezers or something, the back of a knife, something like that, and just run down along it forcefully, and it will snap them off. But cutting them away is fine. It's just a slower way of doing it. There you go. I'm trying to find something that works. The knife isn't quite it. But yeah, sliding down the back of a tweezers is what I actually did. I don't know if I've actually got that filmed. I think I found that out at the end. Because I was getting in a bit of a pickle there. I thought, right, it's got to be easier. But if you just slide down with a tool, anything, metal ruler, something like that, you'll just break them off. But also, the safest way is clipping them like this. And once you've got them clipped off, you're ready to do the final pull. Now you could come back from the other side that you've already pulled or start afresh. So I'm just trying to do it in a way that, it shows how you might do it. So I'm pulling them from the other direction now to join up. And there you go. Bit more quicker there. A bit quicker there. And there you go. You've got a few little bits stuck to the side. Just run your fingers down, clean them off. Run along with the back of some tweezers again, very gently, but just, with a good amount of steady pressure, and you'll get rid of all the little bits. You don't need to worry about sanding them up. They'll just flick off, leaving the printed part. And there you go. Workable tracks. Quite something. All printed in one. It's quite an incredible piece of technology you got there. Very good detail, not fantastic detail. Now there's other 3D printed tracks. So there's like a printer's mark deep down inside the track. Now I've seen on other versions from different manufacturers, you can actually read it. There's actually writing, whereas here it's just the sort of hint of it. There's no actual definition to it. Now you can see just running down with the back of those tweezers. And the workability of these tracks is fantastic. The way they're very free-flowing, which is often a problem with resin tracks and resin pins. They're almost a bit too tight. So there you go. Now this is what I wanted to show you. That's how you do it. Now we're cooking. Just 2 runs down like that. And that flicks them straight off. And you're not getting anywhere near the track because these supports are actually the barriers to the track, so you're not even touching the track with these. You're just hitting the supports out that are in front of them. And it works very well. And again, we got another pull. So yes, I didn't read the instructions, and there's track pins on the inside. You can see where the spare tracks are. Well, running on from the end of the spare tracks is all the track pins, the resin track pins, which I didn't think you needed because you got metal ones. Well, the metal pins are for joining the two sets of tracks together, and the resin pins are for joining the spare tracks together. You get enough, they're on the left side there, so you get enough to do an entire run of tracks. I needed to put a spare one track link in to these to make them fit on the DASWork Panther, but you don't then get a spare, if you see what I mean. So you get 2 full runs, and there's the brass pins used to join them together to put the spare link in even. So you get 2 full runs, and then if you use an extra link, you're taking that away from your spare tracks. And the Panthers have 6 tracks on each side, so you're going to end up with 5 tracks on each side, if you see what I mean. So you don't have that spare. It would actually be nice to have enough to have a spare to do for the lengths. So additional spares. You know, you get 12 spares. It would have been nice to have 14 or 15 spare links, but you don't. But that's fine. Often you don't have the full sets at the back anyway of the Panthers. But for completionists, you'd have to find a different link. So you've got sided pins, both in resin and brass. You don't have enough to do it all. So you only have enough in brass to do the joining of these tracks. And I think that's for strength. I think that's why they give you those brass ones. And then the spare tracks, you use your resin pins. And you've got one with a lock and nut and one with a smooth head. And again, it works absolutely as you'd expect it to. They're a little bit stiff around the idler and sprocket. That's nothing to do with the tracks, that's to do with the model and the compatibility. They do work, and obviously what you can do is just sand those sprockets down just a touch and just sand the face of the idler down just a touch, and you'll find they'll run and sit a lot better. The actual natural sagging of them and how they fit is exactly how you'd expect it to be. You're just seeing there, I'm just trying to get it placed on. But once you get it all set up nicely, they've got that perfect, iconic Panther track sag, and they certainly look the part. And you get this with anything. You can get this with metal pins, metal tracks, and you can get it with metal other resin tracks as well. But there you can see just setting them up. And we haven't got the outer wheels on there, which would give the difference. And I've got one of those spare brass pins stuck under there. But you can see how much play there is. You know, there's nothing wrong with the actual sag. It's just getting that fit around the sprocket and the idler. And that's, like I said, that's the case for all manner of aftermarket tracks. There's always a little bit of work to do there. So very impressed. Same price as any other sets of tracks, but they're already being put together. So you've got to think about, how do you value your time? Is this, you know, a time saver? They certainly work as advertised, which is what my worry was. I thought we'd have to cut them all off and sand them up and clean them. There's hardly any cleanup, any messing about. There's absolutely no time spent putting pins in and trying to get it all fitted. They just work. So very impressed. And as I said, I got these from Premium Hobby. They were sent to the channel as a review sample, and very impressed with them. So if you want to get yourself any, that's the place to go. I've got a link down in the description below, direct to the Panther, the Jagdpanther actually. This is a set specifically for the Jagdpanther. But there's a number of sets available, and hopefully coming down the line there'll be more. So fingers crossed. But there we are. That's a different look on tracks. And of course this Jagdpanther will be coming to the channel at some point in the future, where we'll have a slightly different scheme, try something different from me, later scheme, and try and actually work on the finish a bit more rather than being so specific. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Have you used these Infini tracks before? Did you know about them? Have you seen them? Have you bought them? What do you think? Be interested to know your thoughts. And like I said, if you want to follow the link down below, it's there. And hopefully that was of interest. So as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.